Unit 1, Lesson 4. Let's do this activity to talk a little bit about the different sounds that we have in Portuguese, okay? So, how many words do we have here? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different words. And I'm going to use these words that we have here to talk a little bit about the different sounds, okay? Advice: don't be too worried about the sounds when you're learning Portuguese, especially if you're doing level A1, okay? You won't be perfect with the sounds on level A1, on level A2. It really takes time. You really have to start speaking. You really have to be exposed. You really have to start speaking Portuguese every day, or at least very often, to be okay with the Portuguese sounds. We have loads of different funny sounds, and I'm sure that you noticed that. We have nasal sounds like João and cão and avião and irmão or irmã. We have loads of shush sounds, and we have loads of rules that will explain those sounds. Sometimes students get too worried about this on the first day. They want to be perfect. I'm not the kind of teacher who's going to ask a student to repeat the same sound 20 times. I don't think that's an intelligent, a clever strategy. So if you're saying something in a way that I can understand and people would be able to understand you, great. I'm not expecting you to say something in Portuguese with my accent. Okay, I was born here in Lisbon. I'm a native speaker. So how could you say the same word with the same accent? It's impossible. It doesn't work. Okay. So once again, if you're speaking Portuguese and if you're saying something in a way that I can understand and native speakers, Portuguese native speakers can also understand, it's great. That's exactly what we want. I'm not expecting you, and you should not expect to be perfect on level A1, okay? So let's start with this word here. This word here is, give me a second, okay, this word. So this word here is televisão, right? So there are two things that I want to tell you. One, I want to talk about this till, okay, with this accent here, we call it a till. Every time we have a till, we have a nasal sound. So once again, this is televisão. So there's a nasal sound here. Why? It's because every time we have this till, we have this nasal sound. How do you do this? How can you get this nasal sound? To get these nasal sounds, I'm breathing out using my mouth and also my nose. Televisão. So I can feel my nose vibrating a little bit. But now that you know this, to get the nasal sound, what do? They breathe out using the mouth and the nose, and they can feel the nose vibrating a little bit. Now that you know this, do you think you're going to be perfect? No. The answer is no. Okay, so it's important for you to understand what's happening. It's important for you to understand that this still gives you the nasal sounds, but just chill. Just say it a few times, 2 or 3 times, and move on, okay? More important than this nasal sound, in my opinion, it's the sound of this S. I'm gonna read it again. I'm gonna say it again. And I'm gonna ask you to pay attention to the sound of this S. So again, televisão. Do you think this is an S sound or it's something different? So hopefully it's easy for you. It was easy for you to understand that this S sounds like Z. Televisão. Okay? So every time we have an S between two vowels, again, every time we have an S between two vowels, the S sounds like Z. This is a very important rule, okay? And televisão, as you probably can guess, it means television, right? I'm gonna move on to this word. This is estudante. Again, estudante. So the only thing that you can hear from the first syllable, it's a sh, right? So I'm saying estudante. So this happens because 99% of the cases, if the word starts with ES consonant, I'm going to repeat, 99% of the cases, there is one exception. One class of words with full words, and those full words are exceptions. We will discuss that later. But again, 99% of the cases, if the word starts with ES consonant, the only thing that you will hear from the first syllable, it's a sh, estudante. Now, if you want to read everything that you can see here, if you're gonna say estudante, it's fine. In fact, Brazilian people would say it that way, estudante, and that's okay. Okay, just get ready because, as you know, in European Portuguese we swallow syllables all the time. So here we just say estudante. Why this happens here? Because every time we have an S before a consonant, we get the sh sound. So this sh that you can hear, it's because we have this S before the consonant. And this sh sound, it's very strong. So every time that happens, this construction, this first vowel, it's hard to hear. It's not silent. This E, it's not silent, but it's hard to hear. Okay, so it's estudante. A different word would be escola or Estoril. Estoril is a place near Cascais. Okay, so, but I'm gonna say this again. I think at the moment you should not be worried about this. And at the moment you should read every single syllable that you can see there, okay? So I think for you it will be better to say estudante, estudante. Because if you do that, you will be using the word, the language in a very, just like Brazilian people would do, and we will be able to understand you perfectly. If you're gonna try to speak right away the way like we speak, it's probably too hard for you, and it will be probably also very hard for us to try to understand what you're saying, okay? Let's move on to this word. Before that, student means student, right? This word, problema, problema. So, problema. So be careful with the sound of this vowel here. Maybe you were thinking about problema. So this O, it doesn't sound like O in this case. In this case, it sounds like U, problema. What I want to tell you here is that you cannot assume that every time you see this vowel, you cannot assume it's a U sound or a O sound. Sometimes it's O, sometimes it's U, and sometimes it's something else that you don't know yet, okay? Problema means problem. And now we have this word here, universidade. Universidade. So this means university. And now I'm going to tell you that in Portuguese, there is always one syllable that is stronger than all the others. And it's usually the second to last. So in this case, it's this one here, da. Universidade. And every time the strongest syllable is here, the second to last, and that's the rule number one, okay? And the rule number one says that usually the strongest syllable, it's the second to last. Every time this happens, the final syllable, the last one, it's very weak. It's not silent, but it's very weak. It's hard to hear. Universidade. So, universidade. So you can hear universidad, but then what comes after, it's weak, not silent, but weak. Okay, get ready for that. This one here, by the way, universidad means university, right? This one is teste, teste. So again, S before a consonant, it's a sh. Two syllables here, we have to stress the first one, so it's teste. So we stress this one, and the second one is weak. Not silent, but weak. Teste. This one, universal. Universal. Where is the strongest syllable? I'm going to say it again. Universal. Universal. It's the last one, right? So here you have your first exception. I told you a few seconds ago that the second to last, it's usually the strongest syllable, like here. Universidad. So this one is the strongest one. But this is your first exception. If you have a word that ends with an L, if the word ends with an L, you have to stress the final syllable, okay? Universal or individual. This one also ends with an L, so we stress the final syllable. Or estoril, right? So universal means universal, teste means test, and the last one is bicicleta. Bicicleta. So once again, I'm stressing the second to last, and bicicleta means bicycle. Okay, thank you for watching. I'll see you shortly.